When my grandfather died, the house didn't feel like ours anymore. It was too big, too quiet, and filled with things that didn't belong to us, only to him. The smell of his pipe lingered in the curtains for weeks, and sometimes when I passed by his study, I could swear I heard the faint click of his old calculator. He was the kind of man who controlled everything, the money, the house, even how we spoke at dinner. No one dared to question his decisions. When he died, it was like someone cut the strings holding us together, and suddenly, we were just a family of strangers sitting around a table full of old papers and unopened envelopes. The day of the will reading was supposed to bring clarity. Instead, it opened a door we should have left closed. The notary arrived in a dark gray suit that looked older than he was. He spoke in that slow, detached tone lawyers use when they already know trouble is coming. Each of us, my father, my aunt, my uncle, and me, sat in silence as he unfolded the yellow pages. The will began normally. To my beloved children and grandchild, I leave the fruits of my labor. But then the phrasing shifted. Those who misuse what I built will inherit my burden. Those who divide what should remain whole will find themselves divided. The room went cold. My aunt tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked midway. The lawyer kept reading, pretending the strange lines didn't exist. Afterward, my father said it was just his father's old-fashioned way of talking, poetic nonsense, he called it. But I saw the look in his eyes when he realized he didn't understand half of the documents. There were trusts, bonds, offshore accounts, and debts we didn't even know existed. The house we inherited wasn't just a home. It was a labyrinth of signatures and conditions. And in the middle of it all, something else was hiding, waiting for us to make the wrong move. That night, the lights in the study turned on by themselves. And on the desk, the old calculator was running. Clicking, calculating, repeating the same number over and over again. 13,470.13. No one in the family could explain what that number meant. But from that moment on, it started showing up everywhere. A week after the reading, the phone started ringing at odd hours. At first, it was just numbers we didn't recognize. Then came the voices. Cold, polite voices asking about accounts, balances, and obligations. They said they represented Mr. Wallace's estate, my grandfather's name. But every time we asked for clarification, they'd hang up. My father tried to keep it together. He spent nights digging through dusty folders, trying to decode the empire my grandfather left behind. I remember him at the kitchen table, surrounded by documents, whispering to himself like he was praying. He said the debts didn't make sense. Some of them were from companies that didn't exist anymore. Others had no creditor name at all. Then came the letters. No return address, just a red wax seal with my grandfather's initials, J.W. Inside, neatly folded, were sheets of paper filled with numbers. The same sequence from the calculator. 13,470.13. Again and again, in ink that seemed too fresh to be old. We thought it was a prank, until the first payment notification arrived. Apparently, one of the bank accounts we inherited had auto debit set up, mysterious transactions withdrawing exactly $13,470.13 every week. The bank claimed it was part of an old estate arrangement, but no one could find the source. When my father tried to close the account, the system froze. He swore he heard something, a faint whisper to the phone line, like someone saying, "You can't cancel what's already owed." That night, he smashed the phone. I found him in the dark, staring at the pieces on the floor, his hands shaking. He said something I'll never forget. "It's not money we inherited, it's the debt itself." After that, things began to rot. The air in the house felt heavy, damp, like the walls were sweating. The documents, once crisp and dry, began to yellow faster than paper should. And every morning, The calculator in the study clicked by itself, whispering that same number like a ritual, 13,470.13, over and over, like it was counting down to something. My father always believed that problems could be solved with numbers. He used to say, "Money is just math, and math doesn't lie." But the moment he said he'd found a way to turn the inheritance into profit, I knew something was wrong. He'd been talking to someone, a man from a consulting firm, who claimed to have worked with my grandfather before. No record of him existed anywhere, yet he somehow had access to every account, every document, every hidden asset. He called himself Mr. Hale. I only met him once. Tall, sharp features, the kind of face that looks carved, not born. He shook my hand with a strange stillness, like his skin was too cold to belong to a living person. He told my father that our family had been sitting on a reservoir of dormant capital, and that all we needed was to reactivate it. It sounded like corporate nonsense, but my father was already convinced. All he had to do was sign. For a week, he worked with Mr. Hale in the study, surrounded by ledgers and laptops. At night, I'd pass by the door and hear them whispering, always in the same rhythm, like an incantation built out of balance sheets and profit margins. Then one morning, my father announced that he had invested everything, every cent of the inheritance. He said it was a long-term opportunity, one that would restore the family's name. That same night, the house started changing. The power flickered every hour. The clock stopped at 13:47, and the calculator, always a calculator, began printing numbers on its own, feeding paper like a mouth chewing endless data. The smell of smoke came from the study, though nothing was burning. When we opened the door, every screen glowed with the same balance update. Account depleted, negative $13,470.13. My father froze. He tried to reach Mr. Hale, but the phone number no longer existed. His emails bounced back. And yet, the next morning, a new deposit appeared. The same amount. It was like the system had reset. The debt was feeding itself. By the end of the month, my father wasn't sleeping. He stared at charts and statements that kept changing when no one was looking. The more he tried to understand, the deeper he sank, like the numbers were rewriting themselves to trap him. I once caught him murmuring in front of the calculator, eyes wide, whispering, "It's not about the money anymore. It's about balance." After that night, he stopped eating, stopped talking. All he did was sit in the dark, waiting for the next transaction. By the time I realized what was happening, my father had already stopped being my father. He became something else. Something wired into the house, into the numbers, into the endless flow of transactions that no longer belonged to any bank. The study was no longer a room. It was a machine. Screens pulsed with data, cables coiled around the furniture like veins, and the sound of the calculator, that steady mechanical click, 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 echoed through the walls like a heartbeat. Every corner of the house began to hum with static. Receipts printed themselves. Invoices appeared under the doors, sometimes with names we didn't recognize, sometimes with ours, as if the debt was expanding, learning who to claim next. One night, I heard my father talking to someone in the study. I peeked through the crack in the door. Mr. Hale was there, but not quite. He wasn't standing anymore. He was projected, flickering, stretched, like an image running out of bandwidth. And my father was nodding, taking notes on a pad that was already filled with numbers. "We must maintain the balance," Hale said, his voice glitching between syllables. "A debt unacknowledged is a debt unpaid. You inherited the ledger, not the fortune." I tried to pull my father away from the desk. He didn't resist. He didn't even see me. His eyes were locked on the calculator, where new numbers were forming by themselves, looping endlessly. 13,470.13, 13,470.13. 13,470.13. When I touched him, he felt cold, like metal left out in the rain. That night, I packed my things and left. But even after I crossed the front gate, my phone started vibrating. Notification after notification. Withdrawals, deposits, balance updates, all tied to my name. The last message simply read, "Account synced, new user added." And then, silence. The next morning, the house burned down. The fire department said it was an electrical fault. But I saw it. I saw the light coming from the windows before the flames. It wasn't fire. It was white, sterile, like the glow of a screen. They never found my father's body. Only melted glass and the old calculator, still smoking, still clicking. It's been 3 years since the fire. I moved to another city, changed my name, tried to build a life that didn't smell like paper and smoke. But some things follow you, even when you think you've escaped. Every month, I still receive an automated statement from a bank I never open an account with. It's always the same amount, $13,470.13. Sometimes it's a deposit, sometimes a withdrawal. No sender, no explanation. Just a number, repeating, like a pulse I can't turn off. I tried reporting it once. The clerk at the branch typed my name, frowned, and said, "You're already in the system." When I asked what system, she just looked confused, like she hadn't spoken at all. That night, I checked my balance again. It wasn't money. It was data. Endless streams of transactions moving in and out, all tagged with my initials. JRW. My grandfather's name. Mine. I think I understand it now. The inheritance wasn't property or wealth, or even debt. It was continuity. A living algorithm, passed down through signatures, documents, and bloodlines, feeding itself through generations, wearing the mask of financial progress. My father thought he could manage it. I thought I could outrun it. But maybe you can't outrun what's designed to own you. The more I read, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just our family. It's everyone. All these accounts. All these systems. The entire economy humming like a heart too big to belong to a single body. Someone started it, and someone has to keep it alive. Last night, I dreamed I was back in my grandfather's study. The air smelled like dust and ozone. The calculator was there waiting, its screen blinking softly. When I pressed the button, the number changed for the first time. It didn't show 13,470.13 anymore. It showed 0.00. And then a message. Debt transferred. New account holder confirmed. This morning, my phone vibrated again. A new notification. Not from the bank. From you. It just said, "Would you like to accept the inheritance?"
Reaching the end means you've seen more than most, but don't leave just yet. The most valuable part is coming now. Watch the credits to uncover today's lesson. Stay, like, and subscribe, because this is where everything connects. And so, the tale becomes a lesson. Now, let's learn how to break the curse.
A final entry. Financial planning. We've already talked about the monsters that haunt the world of money, like inflation and pyramid schemes, and also about the heroes, like compound interest. Now, let's talk about the tool that gives you the power to face the monsters and use the heroes to your advantage. That tool is called financial planning. Let's sit down for a moment. Forget the boring spreadsheets and the impossible goals. Imagine your life as a long road trip and your wealth as your fuel. You can't just hit the road without knowing where you're going or without checking if you have enough gas. Financial planning is the map for that journey. It's not something complicated. It's simply a process with few clear steps that anyone can follow. Know where you are. Before you take the wheel, you need to look at your dashboard. How much fuel do you have? Your savings and investments? Is your engine running well? Your income? Are there any warning lights on your debts? Decide where you're going. What's your destination? Do you want to buy a house? Travel the world? Retire peacefully? Financial planning begins with a dream, a clear, defined goal. Draw your route. Now that you know where you are and where you want to go, it's time to trace your path on the map. Financial planning is that drawing. It shows how much you need to save each month, where you should invest, and how you can cut costs. It's the best road toward your goal. Prepare for the unexpected. On any journey, it can rain, a tire can go flat, or the car can break down. In the world of money, these setbacks are illness, job loss, or an unexpected expense. Financial planning teaches you to carry a spare tire, an emergency fund, so you don't have to stop halfway. So, what's the big lesson? Financial planning isn't something you do only when you already have a lot of money. It's a compass. It's what gives you control. What allows you to look at the future without fear and make smarter decisions in the present. It transforms your financial life from a game of luck into a journey of conscious choices. It's your shield against the monsters and your guide toward wealth. It's the map that proves you are the master of your own destiny.